Hello everyone, and welcome back to another lesson in U.S. history. Today, our objective is to understand tragedy. A tragedy that happened on November 22nd, 1963, the day that John F. Kennedy, President of the United States, was assassinated. In 1963, John F. Kennedy was on the campaign trail preparing for the campaign in 1964. He wants to be reelected. On that campaign trail, one of his stops was in Dallas, Texas. He and Jackie Kennedy, his wife, the First Lady, landed at Love Field in Dallas on the morning of November 22nd. And there got into an open car with Texas Governor John Connally and his wife, Nellie. Now, after they got off the plane, before they got in the car, it was clear already John F. Kennedy was there to be with the people. He exited the predetermined path from the plane to the car to go shake hands with people and interact with people that had lined up there to meet he and Jackie at Love Field. So they get into this car, and what's unique about it is the car doesn't have a top. It's an open car. Vice President Johnson and his wife, Lady Bird, get into a separate car. So now in this open car is John F. Kennedy, Jackie, Governor John Connally, and his wife Nellie. And they're making their way through downtown Dallas. And they have a published, predetermined path that they're going to go, and it's going to take them past, it's going to take them through a place called Dealey Plaza. And that's where the site of this incident is going to occur. But now let's take a minute to talk about the perpetrator of this tragedy, a man by the name of Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald is going to be the man who assassinates John F. Kennedy. Lee Harvey Oswald was a high school dropout. He dropped out to join the Marines and clearly displayed his prowess as a sharpshooter, but became disillusioned with the United States and the Marines and began to openly express pro-Soviet leanings and opinions. Eventually, he left the Marines, he got a discharge, and then traveled to live in the Soviet Union, where he spent time working in the city of Minsk. He applied to be a citizen of the Soviet Union, but was denied his application, and later returned to the United States and got a job in Dallas at the Texas School Book Depository. And it's there, from the Texas School Book Depository, from the 6th floor, that Lee Harvey Oswald will carry out this act of shooting the president. 12:30, the presidential motorcade made its way and turned down into Dealey Plaza. When it turned down Dealey Plaza, there was a loud crack through the air, one shot. People kind of looked around, uncertain of what it was. Then there was a second shot. And at this point, John F. Kennedy has been shot. There are going to be 3 shots. The first misses, the second hits him in the back, and in the Zapruder film, there is the president's reaction, his involuntary reaction to being shot in the back. If you see the film, you'll see his shoulders lean up and his arms come up. Okay, that's his body's reaction to being shot. And just a couple seconds later, the third shot rings out and the president is shot in the back of the head. And this is a violent reaction and very gruesome. His head explodes in front of hundreds of people right next to his wife, who reacts reasonably dramatically and just, in horror. She just watched her husband's head explode, the president of the United States. All this takes place around from 12:30. Around that time, president's shot, and then at 1 o'clock, the president is declared dead and given last rites. Then at 1:15, Lee Harvey Oswald, who has left the scene, he's left the school book depository, he's accosted by a police officer, and Oswald shoots and kills him. Then at 1:45, Oswald is cornered and trapped in a theater by several officers, and he is apprehended. And all this is happening on November 22nd. Oswald is taken into custody. He is accused of his crime of allegedly shooting the President of the United States, and he is beginning that process, being tried, being convicted. And then on November 24th, Lee Harvey Oswald is being transferred from one jail to another. His transfer is public. It's publicized. There are journalists and reporters there to watch this transfer happen. And while it's happening live on television, a man by the name of Jack Ruby runs up, pulls out a gun, and shoots Lee Harvey Oswald right in front of multiple police officers and journalists on camera. Oswald dies not long after that. Jack Ruby dies in 1967 due to complications because of cancer. And so, that's what happened. And we're left with lots of questions. Of all the incidents that we learn about in history, none have more conspiracy theories than JFK's assassination. So what are some of the most popular ones? Well, there's one theory that it was the mafia, that John F. Kennedy was able to secure his presidential seat thanks to the help of the mafia in Chicago, where he got some votes, and there was some questionable ballot counts. Others thought it was the CIA. And that's a theory that because of the Bay of Pigs fiasco, the CIA was angry at John F. Kennedy and perpetrated his assassination. Another theory is that it was the Soviet Union, and that Lee Harvey Oswald was an agent of the Soviet Union. Others that it was Fidel Castro, who the CIA had tried to overthrow. Then there's one of the more common theories is that there was more than one shooter, and that Lee Harvey Oswald was not the only shooter. And there are multiple points that people make to say, look, it's not possible for Lee Harvey Oswald to have been the only shooter due to the angles of certain of the bullets. Governor John Connally was shot as well. It's believed one of the bullets that struck the president passed through the president and then ricocheted around in the car and struck Governor John Connally, who at one point was in critical condition, but I believe he recovered. So one of the main sites at Dealey Plaza is called the Grassy Knoll, and it's believed that there was a theory that there was another shooter on the Grassy Knoll at Dealey Plaza. All of these conspiracy theories and the other ones out there, there's rationale to them. That's one of the reasons there's so many conspiracy theories and so many reasonable and rational people that genuinely believe Oswald didn't act alone, and that there was something else going on behind the scenes. There was an investigation done immediately after John F. Kennedy's assassination. It was called the Warren Commission, a congressional investigation that concluded that Oswald acted alone in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. The incident is caught on camera, and the most famous film is called the Zapruder film, Zapruder. If you go watch it, just realize you will see the president shot and killed on camera. So be aware of that, but I do recommend watching it. What really happened though? The truth? Well, the truth really died with Lee Harvey Oswald. We'll never know really with absolute confidence what happened, because Oswald never had a chance to tell his story. In that 2-day period between the 22nd of November and the 24th of November, Oswald was denying everything and claiming he didn't do anything. But the rifle that he used was found in the school book depository on the 6th floor, and it was determined it was his rifle, and his background as a sharpshooter was further evidence that he was the perpetrator. I hope I'm using the word perpetrator correctly. I think I am. He was the one who carried out the act, pulled the trigger, and shot the president. You take a look at John F. Kennedy's assassination, and you start to see, man, there are some questions that are unanswered. And one of my thoughts, I think, approaching this is to approach it with skepticism, but also to keep an open mind, but also doubt your doubts sometimes as well. What we do know is that John F. Kennedy was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald. Behind the scenes, the rest of the story may never be told. What about the legacy of John F. Kennedy? His is a unique legacy because most of the presidents that we study and see, we see pictures of them or hear recordings and videos of the things they did later on in life. We watch them get old. Kennedy is frozen in time. We only ever see him as this 43, 44, 45-year-old man. His White House with Jackie and his son was often referred to as Camelot. The Kennedys, as presidents, were kind of as close to a royal family that the United States ever got. And Americans fell in love with John F. Kennedy. I remember talking to my mom about it. She says she remembers the day Kennedy died because while she was only, I think, 5 years old, she just remembers her mom watching TV, my grandma watching TV and crying. And lots of people cried and were upset, even people who didn't vote for him, because there was something about his energy, his passion that captivated Americans. In a quote here about John F. Kennedy, former President Barack Obama has to say, "And it's been an incredible legacy. But JFK in particular, I think, captured the idealism, the ability to imagine and remake America, to meet its ideals in a way that we haven't seen before or since. And I don't know of anyone who has had that same impact on a generation and inspired so many people as JFK had." John F. Kennedy inspired Americans to act, to take action, to ask not what their country could do for them, but ask what could they do for their country. After his death, his vice president, President Lyndon Baines Johnson, would become president of the United States, and he would be sworn in aboard Air Force One alongside the now widowed Jackie Kennedy. Johnson made it clear to Americans that he intended to continue Kennedy's legacy, and he did. He pushed many bills through Congress, and Johnson would go on to be one of those presidents that was a force to be reckoned with in Congress. The assassination of John F. Kennedy was a major blow to the morale of the United States, but his legacy lived on. It lived on through the several civil rights bills that would be passed under Kennedy and Johnson. It was forever enshrined in 1969, when the United States fulfilled Kennedy's promise that we would go to the moon, and we did. And America is still living out that legacy, continuing to pursue an ideal, not just dream of great things, but do great things. Thank you for your time today. I love you all. Make it a great day.